Oh, there you are. Uh, me? No, you. Where are you? Hey, hey, you. Where are you? Where am I? Where are you? Are you there? Uh, am I here? No, wait a minute. If I'm not here and you're not there, then am I and you are neither here or there? Perhaps. Everything is not what it seems to be. Everything just is. Everything just not one way or some other way. Or everything's not the way that it seems and not as it seems. It's neither. Everything is seemingly so, and then it appears as though everything is filled with absolutely nothing. I mean, there's no thing that stands alone. No thing stands alone. Well, if no thing stands alone, then if this is no thing, then that must mean that it's not standing alone. And if this thinks that just because it can think, or it has cognizance, what it refers to as thinking, since it has the ability to think, what does it seem to be doing? Is it doing anything? Well, something seemingly interesting happens. Now, is it interesting or is it disinterest? Is there interest in anything, or does there have to be disinterest in everything? Or can there be interest in everything and and disinterest in nothing? So which is it? Is it either or? It's neither. Okay. If I think and believe that just because of causes, to be break that down, be cause, the being of cause. Are we the being of causes? It sometimes seems that way. But why does it seem one way one day, and then the next day it doesn't seem like that anymore? And then it's as though, well, this that I refer to as my body apparently appears to be living a life of its own. No, that doesn't seem to make sense anymore. So, what was making sense and why did it seem to be making sense and then not make sense anymore? Everything that it used to believe in was never, not necessarily worthy to believe in, but it no longer seems to be mattering. Oh, well, perhaps that's because nothing ever mattered. Well, is there cause a being? No, we use the word in the English language. We say because. Okay, because I think, therefore I am. No, the cause of being. To be the cause of being. Is that it? Okay. because there's causes, if there are causes, what is the origin of a cause? Well, in what is referred to as the sciences, there's cause and effect. Okay? All right? If that's the case, then what precipitates causes and effects? Okay, so there's a cause. What is a cause? Well, is anything causal? Break that down. You see, this message of pointing to absolutely everything is that which has been referred to as non-duality. Now, non-duality is just simply a fact. It's not a teaching. It's not a knowing. It's not a doing. No thing has to be done about anything. Everything's appearing and then disappearing and then reappearing. And guess what? That's right. It's never going to end. This word, this term that is used and expressed in the English language, it's non-duality, not two of anything. There is no separation. If there's no separation, then it's inseparable. Therefore, if there's no separation, everything's inseparable. Intermingling, intertwining, coalescing, mixing, on and on and on, never ends. And then, the body-mind action figure, the conjured self, thinks to itself because it believes it can know about everything. So, what do some of these, seemingly some, embark upon some type of a quest for knowledge, a quest for knowing. And why? Well, 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after. What? All those pronouns. Just as there is no noun to be found, also there are no pronouns to be found. And why does the action figure, the body mind, the conjured self, why does it conjure these ideas of beliefs, concepts, subjects to talk about? Let's give them something to talk about, yeah? Let's try that. And if there are spiritual shoes, so to speak, laid out before absolutely every body-mind action figure, then if one is to use that analogy, then it could be stated this way. If there are a bunch of spiritual shoes laid out before me, I need to try them on. Do I need to try every single one of them on? Well, do I need to walk around in some type of shoes? Not necessarily. What are shoes for? They're for feet. So, does this mean that there are different spiritual what? What are we referring to about spiritual? It has this connotation, doesn't it? Or almost like a flavor. The English language is filled with flavors, is it not? The English language is so colorful, in a sense. Well, in what sense? Well, there are senses. And with these senses that are thought about, that is where and when and why it is not necessary to touch upon a sense to believe that, well, I think, therefore I am. If the body, mind, action figure, if the conjured self is to conjure that idea, and that statement or the quote, a quotation, to state that I think. Okay, do you think? Well, obviously. If I did not think and you did not think, what are we left with? Everything. Yeah? Sure. Now, that includes position. That includes all the innumerable dualities that seemingly have a rule set. Now, this rule set is that everything must have a cause and effect. Really. And why must that be that way? Because it seems to be so. Well, if it seems to be so, is it always so? No. It just apparently appears to be so. Now, is it exclusively, permanently so? Well, what are we referring to? Everything. Is everything exclusively, permanently so? No. We notice that there's change. Now, what is changing? Everything. How is everything changing? Well, everything seems to be changing, and then it is as though nothing has ever changed. Does everything have to be changing? Well, there's the appearance of change. And why is there an appearance of change? The conjuring. There it is again. And it has been stated that there's selfing. Well, the selfing is just another way of using the term, the word, conjuring. Now, this speech that's uttered by the action figure, it often believes that it has to be either right or wrong about everything. And then it breaks down everything because it's trying to figure it out. Because, no, you don't have to be the cause of anything. Well, because no, if there is negation, and then negation is spoken of, is that which is speaking of negation negated? Is that negated already? Well, yeah, of course it is. It's conjuring the idea of negation. Now, does anything need to be negated? No. Does anything need to be added for everything to appear as everything? No. Does anything need to be removed from everything? No. Then, if no thing needs to be removed or added, perhaps then it just simply is then. Well, yeah. This is. Oh, exclusively is. Is it exclusively so? Is it permanently exclusively so? Everything? No. It is also included, not so. So everything that apparently appears to be unreal, unknowable, unseen, unobservable, is it exclusively that way? Obviously not. And what is obvious? Well, there is that which perceives obviousness. Okay, so if there's that which perceives obviousness, then what is entertaining the idea of obviousness? Well, there it is again. I think, therefore I am. So, if I think, and there's a therefore, no. Let's go behind that. I think. Well, wait a minute. Let's start right there. Do you really? And who's thinking? No, there's just the activity of thinking. There's thoughts. Now, are these thoughts supplanted? Are they purposely supplanted within each of these bodies that are seen and witnessed and observed? Well, I can observe my own body. Whoa, no, I can observe my own body. Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a freaking non-dual minute here. There are no non-dual minutes to wait upon, so there's the paradox again. The body-mind action figure, the conjured self, is always trying to take everything and know it. And then it's trying to take everything that it believes is a permanent everything. And so there are objects that can be fashioned in various ways. That objects are solidified. So if they're solidified, then the conjured self conjures the idea, well, then I could do something with these objects. So if I could do something, do I need to do anything with these objects that I believe I am holding? If I take an object and I'm thinking about it, and then I call it, I have to label it, I have to define it. If I don't define anything, then everything is not something. You see, each object that's thought to be an object seems to require a name or a title or some type of a noun. Tape. Is it just tape? No. It's so much more than just tape. Well, how did it become tape? Well, the essence of the tape is simply observed, and then it's defined, and then it's isolated, and then looked upon as though it's a single item held by a hand that belongs to me. See how it goes with the language. See, there is no room, or there is no reason, meaning, and purpose for a language to be spoken other than using language 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, that which communicates. Okay, so there's communication. Now, does there have to be communication? Not necessarily. The only meaning, reason, and purpose that's given to communication is the idea that I'm here and you are there. I have computer equipment. I have a microphone. I have it. Do I have it? Do I own it? Well, it was purchased. This body-mind action figure, the conjured self, seemingly went. Here's the story, another story. Yes, it's all just narrations of stories. All of it. So, let's get back to I think, therefore I am. Now, the body-mind action figure is trying to figure that out and give it some type of context. Give it meaning, reason, and purpose, and then take that and then give it all the meaning that it will have unless it's entertained. So, in a sense, every single, what apparently appears to be a separate single body-mind action figure that's seemingly born, now we say seemingly born, was that the beginning of that particular person? Are there any particulars, exclusivities? Well, it appears to be. And Is that appearance permanent? No. That appearance is temporary. Okay, if it's temporary, how is it temporary in time? Well, how is it temporary in time temporally? Okay. So, if everything is verbing and there are no nouns to be found, what is seemingly so and not so then? Absolutely everything and no thing. Inseparably so and not so. And it's always that way. Now, is it that way or is it some other way? No, it's this way. But there's the but again. But wait a minute. See, wait a minute. Well, how long is a minute to wait? Time's irrelevant. Time is irrelevant in the mixture of that which is expressing dually. Now there are non-dual expressions and then there are dual expressions. That which believes it is separate, that which believes it is independent, it is singled out, it is alone, that which believes it's isolated, that which believes it has its own life to live, its own body to use, as it so pleases, of its own accord, volition, and free will. It believes that. Oh, definitely. Wholeheartedly believes that. Now, if that believes in its own existence, or its own life, or its own presence, does that also mean that you are experiencing that as well? And do we know that? Do you know that? And should I know that? Well, there's a feeling, a sensation that's claimed that is seemingly permanently so. It's real enough, in other words. Okay, so there is a conjured self, a body-mind action figure that believes it is living its own life. It believes that. It's believed that for a very long time. And how long has it believed that? Well, as long as it believes that it has lived with a body of its own, and that it has a mind of its own, and that mind takes care of that body. And then the mind takes that body mind and says, that's yours. It makes the proclamation that that's your body. Okay, so if this is my body and you have your body, then that already makes two bodies. You know, there's already separation in that, is there not? Right? Is your body and my body two separate bodies? Well, it appears to be that way, doesn't it? Notice, through or via self-inquiry, that type of chatter or that type of reasoning and thinking, do I have to reason this, that if it's true that I'm living my own life and you're living your own life, and that there are fixed positions and different fixed positions and coordinates, as the body-mind action figure conjures the idea that there is and there are more than just one position to seemingly be situated upon. All right. Situated upon a coordinate. You take a map and there's a longitudinal and latitudinal mark, yeah? And that's subjective. So, in this seemingly subjective reality, The approach is that way. What is approaching? There really is no approach necessary to be. Now, this beingness, being, that is seemingly an activity that seems to be permanent. So this permanence, break that down. Is there impermanence? Sure there is. It's one coin with two sides of absolutely everything. Okay, so you have that which appears real, and then you have that which appears unreal. So the realness of that which appears real is part of the permanence. Okay, now, is there exclusive permanence? Is there exclusive separation where there's something separately permanent and then something else is not? No, it's just apparently appearing and then it disappears. It's no longer visible, observable. So does it go somewhere? If something's appearing for a while in time, then it's temporally temporary, isn't it? We say temporal, that's time. And then if we were to refer to moments in time, are these moments suspended? Can a moment be suspended? Well, the body-mind action figure, the conjured self, the self-conjured self conjures that idea that yes, I can observe time being suspended. And how is that? Well, in a video. A video of what apparently appears to be movement of some type of activity that's going on. That movement is always constant. So what is capturing that constance? Is it suspending it for a time? Well, there's time. There's the setup. There's time. And then there's movement in time. And then there's the space. The time apparently appears to be everything going on or everything happening. And then if time is suspended in, let's say, a recording such as this is a recording capturing moments in time and stringing them together, stringing them along. So it's capturing, let's say, the average time frame of a video presentation. One could say that an hour is enough. If you go more than 1 hour, then the attention span of the action figure begins to dwindle, and then it goes astray, it goes off on other tangents, and it starts entertaining other ideas. The very existence, the life it apparently appears to be a life of a body-mind action figure, is about time. Well, it's about time you figured that out, see, like that. Or it's about time you came around. I've been waiting a long time for you to appear. Or I've been waiting a long time for us to talk about this. Yes, the body-mind believes that. So you see, that's where it gets hung up in the selfie. It gets hung up in the conjuring. See, that conjuring. And that's just, it's seemingly an activity. There's a lot to say about seemingly so. In fact, it apparently appears as though there's more content of information to speak of that which apparently appears to be seemingly so. Now, why does it apparently appear to be that way? That's because, there it is again, that word. That is because it is apparently appearing to be a cause, but it's not. It's not a cause of anything. So, why continue to use the term, in the language that's being spoken, to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, that which believes it's permanent, and a single individual that has a life of its own, and then it's going on planning for the future, for its own future. So you see, there's the ownership again. There's mine, my life, my body, my mind, my thoughts. All of this selfing. Yes, that's selfie, but it's also conjured. So, the body mind action figure, if it is to express as a neo Advaitin, if it is to express by taking the subjectivity of speaking about and regarding and referencing that which is non-dual, or that which is and is not simultaneously, then it apparently appears to be as though it is covering absolutely everything. In other words, not only is it covering absolutely everything, but it's also including that which is no thing or nothing. There was a conference, apparently appearing to be a conference, as the body-mind action figure, as the German body-mind action figure would say, well, it's apparently appearing to be so. Nothing ever really happens. Nothing ever really has to happen. Well, if nothing has to happen, then what apparently appears to be happening then? Nothing. Nothing's happening. And then, at the same time, it apparently appears as though everything's happening. Well, how could everything happen and then also appear not to be happening? Because it's all included. Because? No, not because. There are no causes to be. There are no causes necessary to be, in other words. So, to speak of non-duality is filled with all of these seemingly so, oh man, it's stuck there. See, the body-mind action figure could be so stuck in a term, in a word, analogy. See, it's trying to say analogy, but then it's trying to think about how it's saying analogy. That silly, self-conjured self. It is so silly, isn't it? And that is why it appears to be so damn comical, so humorous. And it apparently appears to be a cosmic joke. Once all of this exclusivity is unraveled, all of this terminal uniqueness, or specialty, or individuality, or separateness, that's why, once it's noticed, what's noticing that? Not that which is noticing that, but that which notices absolutely everything. And realizes that there's also that which is nothing. So there's everything appearing as though it's something, and absolutely everything. And then at the same time, it apparently appeared out of nowhere. From nothing. 2 by 4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after. That which is referred to, no thing. No thing stands alone. If no thing stands alone, then what are we left with? Nothing. You start from nothing? What starts from nothing? Well, there is no start. See? There's no beginning. There is no beginning to no thing. There never was. So why try to think that there was or is? Why try to think that there is a beginning to nothing? Never was. Well, will it ever end? Will there be an ending to it? To what? Nothing. No. Because it is both. It is both the appearance of a beginning and the appearance of an ending. The Alpha and Omega. Yes. The Alpha and Omega. No beginning and no end. Never ending. Okay? And never beginning as well. But just a consistent, constant appearance of energetic movements. Yes, verbing. Yes, of course. Of course. Rivering. Verbing. Well, obviously. But not to the self. Not to the conjured self. The self-conjured self says, no, it's not like that. No, I know better. Yeah, I know better. You know why I know better and how I know better? Because I have a degree. I have a degree in so much knowledge and information. And let's just say I happen to be a person, an individual person, separate from everybody and everything else, that has a degree in history. Okay, so I profess to be a historian. Okay? All right. So, there's another story. See, everybody has a story to tell. Sure they do. Because they believe they believe in that story to such a degree that once the story's told, it either has to be believed or disbelieved. You don't have to believe it. It could be fictitious or non-fictitious. Non-fiction or fiction. What is construed as fictitious? Well, that's just made up, isn't it? Well, yeah, it's how it apparently appears to be, really. When there's the unraveling, when there's a collapse, the collapsing. You know, there's no final collapse, by the way. If the self-conjured conjures that idea that it can have a final collapse and then it's continuing to become something very special and separate, more or less than somebody else. No, there's nobody else. See, that's that separation. There is not a separate somebody else. It apparently appears to be as though that's the case, but no. No. Inseparably so. See? In space and time, temporarily so, though. Not exclusively particularly so, where everything is permanent. That's clearly not the case, because it's also impermanent. Both permanent and impermanent. For a time. That's the apparent appearance of finiteness. So what is finite? Finite apparently appears to have parameters, boundaries. Yeah? Finiteness has boundaries and seams, edges, and it apparently appears as though that which is finite has limitation as a container. Here's an example. The Russian dolls. Yeah? The Russian dolls, you took a large Russian doll, you open it up, and there's another one inside. It's okay. So there's that Russian doll inside. There's another one. Okay, and then it opens that Russian doll, and then there's another one in there. And then it keeps going like that. And then it gets real tiny. And then it's as though there are no more Russian dolls anymore. Oh, sure they are. But they're seemingly going to appear in a much smaller size. In other words, the appearance of them, that which is observed. Now, there's the macrocosm. Okay. See, scientists have been trying to figure all of this out, and they're still trying to figure it out. And so, if they cannot figure something out, and it's not in a scientific journal or a paper or in some collegiate, academic setting, in some university or college, some very, very reputable, sophisticated, and very special university, such as Cambridge University, by the way, which is not too far from here. Not too far from where? Well, seemingly so, upon a geographical location referred to as the United Kingdom. So, let us look at a map, okay? So we look at a map. Are we looking at a map that is a reference to a particular place? See, notice that. Well, yeah, you can't deny that, can you? Can we deny that I am not here and you're not there. Can we deny that? Well, not necessarily deny it. We can entertain the idea that it's one and the same, that this idea of fixed positions in space and time are specific coordinates. Well, yeah, there apparently appears to be distance between those coordinates. The distance seems to be so real, doesn't it? Where an object, something that seems to be standing alone, can seemingly be further away. Well, that seems to be the reality base, doesn't it? Well, if this is all dreaming it up, is all this being dreamt of? Or dreamt up? Because there's this talk always about the dreamings. Okay, so if there's dreamings, then are there any specific dreamings going on? Is this body, mind, action figure, can it claim its own dreamings? And then your action figure, if we're going to refer to it as yours? See? If you throw in the my, what happens? Separation. And then what happens? And then it goes off on its own unique viewpoint or perspective. Yes? See, every body, mind, action figure, every self-conjured conjure self-conjures the idea that it has its own take on life. Okay. And it cannot let go of the idea of its own life. It can't let go of that. It just self-identifies with its own way of thinking. Okay, so a self-conjured conjure self, a body, mind, action figure, thinks in terms of believing, knowing, and doing. And then, what is it overlooking, if it's overlooking anything in all that? It's overlooking that it's simply inherently alive, inherently on, aware to being aware. But no, it's not satisfied with that. So if the self-conjured conjure self conjures the idea that it's living its own life, and it has its own body, and it has its own birth name and birthright, it has its own certificate of authenticity, if you will. So what is a certificate of authenticity? Well, it believes it's authentic. It's believed that from day one, so to speak. And what was day one of its of being cognizant to believe in that which refers to a birth name and a birthright. And then it was born. Well, all types of different, or what are referred to as other life forms, that which apparently appears to be born. What is born? Introduced. To be born, introduced into a place? Well, that apparently appears to be the dreaming. The dreamings that are conjured. What are the dreamings that are conjured? And that are given meaning, reason, and purpose? There it is. The meaning, reason, and purpose is given to anything, which turns out to be a subject and concept, and that which can be what? Learned. And what is learned? Does anything need to be learned? Well, yeah. Apparently, there's time, yeah, and we apparently appear to be collectively in space and time. So we're in space and time. So the dreamings are dreamt as though you and I are in space and time, but only temporarily. See? And that is the impermanence. The impermanence is that which apparently appears to be temporally temporary. It's not permanent. Nothing's permanent. No thing that seems to stand alone is permanent. It's impermanent. All of it. And this is where the idea of Maya came from. If we were to take the story, it's all conjured. Absolutely everything that's thought about is conjured. absolutely everything that can be thought about, absolutely everything that can be to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, that which conjures the idea that it is separate from everybody and everything else, and that there is an everybody and everything else out there. Well, what's out there? There's nothing out there. And there's nothing here. There's nothing here, there's nothing there. It's everywhereness. See, it's both. It apparently appears to be as though there's nothing going on or nothing happening, and that continues to unravel even further. And the body-mind action figure no longer reacts to that, because it's no longer holding this position that it believes it's in a position. It conjures the idea of positions and conditions, all the innumerable dualities. Just as there are innumerable dualities, there are also innumerable non-dualities. How can that be? Well, it is, and isn't. That's how it can be and cannot be. You can't leave out the cannot be, and you cannot leave out that which is unreal, unobservable, unknowable. Because there is, obviously, that which can be knowable, and can be observable, and can seem to be real. But there's also the other side. The other side of what? Everything. The other side of absolutely everything. Okay. Interesting. But is that something that could be taught? Something that can be learned? No. Everything does not require a learning to be taught, or a teaching. Oh, well, wait a minute, I heard this great master speak. He was speaking about this too, just like you're saying. Well, it's not like that. You see, it's going to continue to unravel. Now, this body-mind action figure, that believed in its own birth name and birthright, it believed that it had a meaning, reason, and purpose to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after its own life. It believed that it was separate. And it used to think that way. Now, if that's going on there, okay, if that's going on there with what seems to be your life that you're living, and what seems to be your body that you're using, there's the appearance of use of the body, and it takes care of itself. It has automatic default positions, doesn't it? Obviously. It circulates the blood throughout its body. Sure, it does that automatically. That's on autopilot all the time. What's the other one? Respiratory. Yes, the breathing. Notice, though, isn't that interesting? Isn't that so interesting? Whereby it's taking care of itself, and it doesn't even have to be thought about. Do I have to be thinking about my blood pumping through my body, or what I construe as my body? See? It's not as though if the word my is used that, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to be concerned and worried about the non-dual police, or the non-dual Pharisees of a law that they think that's the letter of the law, and that a letter of the law is required for everything to be and not to be, or everything to seemingly be real and unreal at the same time, is and is not, empty fullness, all of it, always, all ways, not just some way, not just the way he seems to be doing something, and not the way she seems to be doing anything or something. There are no separate events going on here and there, and all those dualities. It just seems that way. That's the Maya. That's the illusion of Maya. The illusion of Maya is as though there are separate events happening to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which believes it. It believes that. The self-conscious self believes that it's living its own life, and it is separate, it's individual, and you are also a separate individual, separate from me. So there it is. there's you and me, and we're separate. No. That's the story. Right. And that's the story 2 by 4 from about with upon around before and after that which we're not. So if we're not that story that is thought about and being told and mentioned, the autobiography of the self-conjured conjured self, that has this terminal uniqueness and importance, and it thinks it's better or worse, the duality, better or worse than somebody else that is also separate with that some degree of terminal uniqueness, various degrees. And so it thinks in terms, it thinks in terms of revolving around its own body, mind, it thinks, and that it has its own life it's living, so it entertains its own ideas. And then what happens? What apparently appears to happen is there's this belief in a societal structure of a whole bunch of other separate individuals that are conjuring that same idea. And so they group together, and then they form what? Well, they form these clubs, so to speak, these groups. Yes, the self-conjured conjured self, it seeks out groups. It seeks out body, mind, action figures that are expressing in a similar manner. And so it forms these clubs, these groups, and it goes around thinking that it's doing that. See, it's conjuring more. It's conjuring more of what's not happening. Yes, what's not happening? What's not happening is that which the self-conjured conjured self conjures. Or another way of saying that is the selfing. It conjures up these ideas of selfing. It conjures up these ideas that I'm finding meaning, reason, and purpose in my own life because I can, and I believe that I'm doing that. So I'm self-convinced of that. I've convinced myself that that's the way it is. 2 by 4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after me. And I'm sure, I'm almost quite certain that you think in a similar way, but maybe not exactly as I do. No, there's just thinking. Well, could you share your thoughts with me? And can I share my thoughts with you? And these thoughts that are shared are different. Are they different? Can a body, mind, action figure, can a conjured self conjure the idea that is thinking about 2 by 4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after itself? Is that how it really is? Well, it seems that way, but it's not really that way. See? See how it is and isn't? It is and is not. Everything is and is not. Absolutely everything is and is not. There's no thing that stands alone. Nothing stands alone. So if you start from nothing, you're not really starting from anything, are you? If you're starting from nothing. So if you start from nothing, you wind up with nothing, and you end up with nothing. So there isn't anything to do about that. Well, do I have to know about nothing? No. Do I need to understand about nothing? No. Do I need to do anything about that? Do I need to know anything about that? Why would I think that I have to know that which I already am, already being? Just aware to being aware, awake to being awake. The simplicity of presence. Well, yeah, the unspoken, yes, but the simplicity of presence. It could be construed that way as well. That the simplicity of presence is that which we all apparently appear to be. Now, being. Yes, the activity of being. The activity of constantly being, inherently on, all the time. And in always, always as well. Continuous, non-stop, continuously, on and on and on. Mixing, blending, coalescing. All of those synonyms that refer to activities and constant movement energetic movements, and nothing ever produces stillness. Indeed, nothing can produce stillness. There is simply energetic movements constantly appearing as though they're energetic movements moving about. And they are innumerable. The countenance is innumerable, just as trying to count every grain of sand on every beach on the planet. Impossible. Now that's infinitudinal complexification. Is there anything else that needs to be said about non-duality? And does anything else need to be? There's plenty. There's plenty. In fact, there are innumerable volumes, just volumes and volumes and volumes of information that can be stated in one of innumerable ways that can be expressed. The statements that are expressed, 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, that which believes it is a separate body, a body, mind, action, figure. It conjures the idea that it is separate, but it's not. Well, this could be expressed in so many ways, but it's temporary. Once it recognizes its temporary manifestation as a body, mind, action figure, as a self-conjured self, it sure travels lighter. It's going to travel a lot lighter. Why? It's no longer dragging around terminal uniqueness, importance, uniqueness, individuality, and man, it's weighed down with all of that. It thought it was. It thought it was weighed down, and it had to capture knowings and doings and activities and meditations, and it just goes on and on and on. Meditative practices, teachings, prostrations. I have to know this meditative practice. Well, I'm tired of that one. I'm going to try another one now. Am I trying it? Do I have to try it? No. That's the whole point. Nothing needs to be tried. Everything is already true. Tried and true. You know. This is just going to keep going. There's no end to it. So don't expect one. And if you thought you were born, no. You thought you had a beginning, no. There is no beginning and no end to anything. Should I get used to that? Well, yeah. You may as well. Because that's the way it really is. And is not. And not just is, it is also not. It is and it is not. Absolutely everything. And it's continuously going on and on and on and on and on. And it's never going to stop. Never, ever going to stop. Just as the mind has thousands and thousands of thoughts that go across its consciousness. Now, does it own its own consciousness? Not referring to that, no. It does not have a life of its own that it thinks it has. It does not have a body of its own that it thinks it has. It had no beginning. It will have no end. That's just simply the way it is and is not. That's right. It is both. It is both. It is and it is not. We are and we are not. Everything is and is not. Is there a final absolute? Is there that Brahman that's mentioned? Brahman and absolute, that's already everything and nothing. Inseparably so and not so. It's already that way. It is. And it'll continuously be that way. Always, always, all the time. It's never going to stop. Because it never even started. It never even began. Now, the body, mind, experience is trying to know that. It's trying to understand that. And turn that into an understanding. And then it wants to turn it into a teaching. And then it wants to travel around the world and write books about it. And yet, it goes on, doesn't it? Yes. Are there non-duality books being written? Sure they are. They're being published left, right, and center. Does that matter? No. And yet, there it is. Take it or leave it. Do you have to take it or leave it? No. Nothing's taken and nothing's left. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything is and it is not. Everything and no thing is inseparably so and not so. Ad infinitum. It's always been that way. It will always be that way, but not any particular way. It's going to always be always, always. Always, always. Well, if there's space and time upon what is referred to as a planet, an Earth-like planet in the universe, yeah, the infinite universe, by the way, not a finite universe, no, not a theory of everything, no, Dr. Thomas Campbell with your my big toe, no, no. Isn't that toe sore by now? Jeez, man, sticking that out in all everybody's face, going around the world and saying, "Oh, you know what? You can visit a you can have an out-of-body experience, and then you can visit the Akashic records, and then you can check out all the lives you've ever lived in the past, and that each life is like a game of Sims." You don't know that. That's conjured as well. See, there's the self-conjuring of body, mind, action figures that will call themselves and label themselves and have the terminal uniqueness to go, well, I'm an ex-NASA physicist, so I have the credentials, the credibility, so you're going to believe me if I tell you about it. So I'm going to come out with this 3-part series book called My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything. And guess what? You too can have your big theory of everything as well. No. the body mind action figure that believes that and says, yes, there's a theory of everything. There is no you cannot theorize. Nobody can theorize everything. You silly self-conjuring such an idea. No. There's the appearance of finiteness. Sure there is. There's the appearance of limitation. There's the appearance of there's astronomy, and only a small portion seems to be pierced. There's the Hubble telescope. Yeah, there's scientific. There's appearance of scientific facts. Fine. Yeah, right. And is that a means to any end? No, it never will be. So there's all these theories. Well, if I can't figure it out and I don't really know, then I'm just going to call it a theory then, because that's fence riding. That's safe. That's safe because then I could claim that I really don't know, but what I do know, I can claim that too. So I can claim what I know and don't know, and then write a book about that, and then go around talking about it. Fine, and that seemingly goes on, doesn't it? Sure it does. There's a body-mind action figure that thinks it could publish a book, and then it thinks it could, sell T-shirts, merchandise, create a website, right? And then have Zooms, and then have, in all these squares, there's the appearance of a body-mind action figure in it. Yeah? There's a body-mind action figure, there's a self-conjured conjure, so the conjures the idea that it is one of those little squares of a Zoom presentation. So, it's entertaining itself, isn't it? Well, it appears to be that way, doesn't it? So what is there else to recognize or notice or observe? Is there? Is there anything else that has to be recognized or known? Does it need to be suspended? Does it need to be written in a book? Do we have to have a presentation about it? No. You know why? It's going to go on and on and on and on in some other way. It's going to manifest in one of innumerable ways. Everything. What's going to manifest? Well, everything manifests in space and time, temporarily in space and time, for an indeterminate duration, though. Indeterminate duration. And it's just everything and nothing, inseparably so, not so. It's just constant rivering, constant movements, life through manifestations, appearing, disappearing, and reappearing. And apparently appearing as though it's a cycle. A huge universal cycle throughout the infinite universe, where there apparently appears to be some type of galactic center. You could call it these black holes that these astronomers are talking about, which is one of the latest sensations. It's talked about. It's similar to a fad like the freaking Cabbage Patch doll of the 1980s. Enough's enough. That's it. That's it. Stop the recordings. Just get on with it. Travel lighter, fine. Does that have to be done? Are you doing that? Am I doing it and you're doing it? Are we traveling? Are we all traveling lighter? Is there any traveling lighter going on? It apparently appears to be that way, doesn't it? Does it matter? No. Therefore, continue to travel lighter if you think you need to do that. Do we need to travel lighter? No, it's not a necessity. It just apparently appears to be what's apparently appearing to be going on. Traveling. Well, what travels? Energy, obviously. Okay, so let's take that then. Let's take that phrase. Traveling lighter. Okay, what travels? Well, everything seems to be traveling. Energetic movements are traveling. What are they traversing? What are they traveling upon? Are they traveling upon anywhere or anything? Well, you could say a frequency of resonance. You could say a wavelength. Since if you want a scientific model, if we're going to create a scientific model of traveling lighter, oh man, a whole freaking book could be written about that. Sure. Let's write a book about traveling lighter. Somebody needs to do that. Does anybody need to do that? Well, watch it happen though. Maybe it will. And then if it does happen, if a body mind action figure that professes to be a non-duality speaker, okay, he might one day conjure the idea, he or she might conjure the idea of writing a book about traveling lighter. Does anybody have a patent on that? Does anybody have a copyright on traveling lighter? No. Don't. All right, that's enough for this presentation. Yeah, whatever. Right? Crazy. Insane. It is. The self-conjured self is insane. It's crazy. It's schizophrenic, man. It's just nonsensical. Doesn't make sense. It thinks it has to. But you know what? It doesn't. Nothing has to make sense. Nothing has to have meaning, reason, purpose. To simply appear as it does, and it's just going to keep appearing differently all the time. It's going to keep appearing this way, that way, some other way, some freaking innumerable duality of some time. And yes, we can study about what we're not. We can study about duality. Fine. Study what you're not then. If that's what you think you need to be doing, study what you're not. Fine. Okay. You know why? Because you're already being. You're already inherently on. You're already mixing, coalescing, blending, rivering. Yes, lifing, isnnessing, beingnessing. Aware to being aware, awake to being awake. Do we have to put a period on it? No, it's always ... It's always ... and it's not going to end. There is no period. No. Oh man, there's sure a lot of question marks though, huh? Well, that's why there's a satsang. You have a question? Attend a satsang. And then guess what? The questioner is starved. Is starved. Starved of information, knowledge, knowings, and doings. That's what apparently appears to go on at the satsang. The satsang, the meeting, the conversation that has a life of its own. Why? Because it's taking energy. Energy taken. It's energy taken and then entering into a room and then there's energy there. No, it's just free flowing. It's just radically free. Yeah, sure it is. It's always. It just keeps going on and on and on. And on and on and on. So could this body mind action figure freaking conjured self can keep talking about this over and over and over again. As though it has meaning, reason, purpose, but it doesn't. It's just recognizing that everything is and is not. Everything and no thing is inseparably so and not so ad infinitum. Do I have to get used to that? No. You don't have to get used to absolutely nothing. You don't have to get used to anything. Right. You don't have to get used to nothing and everything. You don't have to get used to it because it already is the way it is. And nobody can control that. Nobody can do anything about that. Nobody has to know it. Nobody has to know anything, really. You don't have to do anything either because you're not. That which you're not thinks it's doing something that matters. That which you're not thinks it knows something that matters. Some kind of subject. So it goes out, looks for importance, and it attends 4 to 6 years at a university to get a master's degree or a doctorate degree. And then it feels important. So then it goes through what it believes is its own life with that importance. A legend in its own mind. The self-conjured self, the body, mind, action figure, is a legend in its own mind, that it believes it has an own mind to be a legend. No. Oh. So, does that matter? No. Nothing matters. That's right. There's the apparent appearance of mattering.